She turned off the bedroom light. The retriever turned it back on with his nose. Theo and Anais lived in an apartment in Chicago with their toddler Levin, and a beagle they had adopted the spring before the baby came. Anais was a pediatric audiologist, and she had the kind of professional vocabulary that makes new parents feel safe and other people uncomfortable. The animal had always been gentle. People used the word sweet. The veterinarian had used the word unusually attuned, which neither of them had thought much about at the time. The first night it happened, the beagle would not leave the doorway. He stood there with his head lowered, ears forward, his whole body angled toward Levin as if he had heard something nobody else had. Anais stepped over him to get into the room. He did not move. She nudged him with her foot. He still did not move. He did not whine. He just looked at her with an expression she could not name. By the third night, she had a theory. Anais had seen this kind of behavior before. A possessive animal, a resource-guarding response to a new infant. She had sat in 3 meetings about exactly this pattern. The dogs in those cases had all ended up in trainers' programs. 2 had been rehomed. 1 had bitten. She knew the data. She also knew the data did not include the cases nobody had ever written down. The cases where the animal was right. But she did not know that yet. She only knew what she had seen. That night she told her partner, "We need to think about whether he can stay near the baby. If you stay for stories about what animals sense before we do, you are in the right place. Subscribe so you don't miss the next one." They moved him out of the bedroom. They closed the door. Theo agreed too quickly, the way partners do when they don't want to argue about something that scares them. The beagle sat on the other side of that closed door for 40 minutes. They could hear him breathing. They could hear him shifting his weight. Then he started to scratch, not a panicked separation anxiety scratch, a steady, deliberate one, as if he were doing a job he had been given and would not stop until it was finished. They put him in the laundry room. The scratching continued through a second door. By midnight, Anais was crying in the kitchen, and her partner had already left a message at the rescue. At 3:42 a.m., the door to the laundry room was open. They never figured out exactly how. The beagle was in the bedroom, on the floor beside Levin, and Levin was making a sound that was not quite a sound. Anais would later describe it as the absence of one, a too quiet breathing, a stillness that her trained ear should have caught earlier and didn't. The animal pressed his muzzle to Levin's cheek and held it there. He did not lick, he did not nuzzle, he just kept his face there breathing, until she was close enough to feel that an electrical fire was building inside the wall behind the crib. Has your dog or cat ever done something that made no sense until it was the only thing that did? Tell us in the comments. These stories deserve to be heard. The ER attending used the word fortunate. Then he used another one. Whoever caught it at the edge of the window, he said. Another 30 minutes and we would be having a very different conversation. He looked at the chart. He looked at Anais. He asked the question every attending in that hospital had been trained to ask before they signed the paperwork. What made you check? She did not answer for a long time. Then she said, "The beagle." He nodded once like he had heard the answer before. He probably had. The doorway, not possessiveness. The smell Anais's training had not taught her to register. The scratching at the laundry door, not separation. A countdown he could not say out loud. The muzzle pressed to her cheek, not affection. The only alarm system in the house that actually worked. 3 things she had read wrong. 3 things she had been trained to read wrong. She would not forgive herself quickly. The beagle did not require it. Every guardian deserves to be recognized, even the ones who never asked for anything in return. If stories like this matter to you, subscribe so you never miss the next one. He came home 2 days later. They opened the door and he walked past them both without looking, the way an old soldier walks past a parade he had already served in. He went directly to Levin's room, lay down beside the crib and exhaled. Anais sat in the doorway with her back against the frame and watched him close his eyes. She thought of the closed door, of the steady scratching, of the 40 minutes she would carry with her for the rest of her life. She did not say anything aloud. She just stayed there until the morning, while the beagle kept watch on the only post he had ever claimed for himself, in a house that had almost learned the wrong lesson, in time to remember the right one. Tomorrow there is another one, about an animal nobody believed until the camera proved them wrong.